Hey, welcome back. All right, so I'm really excited for today. I'm going to take you through a big chunk of my process, the process I teach my clients to essentially help and also help them let go of the past, heal the wounds, the disappointment, the conditioning, the traumas that you experienced in your past that are still draining your energy, still keeping you small, and essentially blocking you from the potential and the future that is possible for you. So, this process that I'm going to take you through is going to help you shift back into feeling regulated, relaxed, resourced, open, so that you're able to receive more of everything you desire with a lot more ease. Because in the end, that's what we want. So, really, today is about how to heal the past, reset our nervous system so that we finally have the ability, the capacity, the sovereignty that we need to create the life, the business, the wealth that we desire. So excited to have you here. Thanks for being here. All right. Before I go dive deep, for those of you who don't know me, hi, I'm Ilsa. By the way, feel free to say hi to me, or at any point during this training, let me know what's resonating. I always love to get comments, and I try really hard to come back and engage and respond. And it's good for the algorithm. It makes it so that more people see this. So I also appreciate it from that perspective. A little bit about me. I'm a complete spiritual nerd. I'm a bookworm. I'm a dog mama. I'm a nature lover. I'm a total introvert bordering on hermit. I live in Boulder, Colorado with my husband and our 2 dogs. Professionally, for the last 22 plus years, I've worked as a psychotherapist, a healer, an expansion expert, and a strategist, helping my clients. They're mainly mission-driven entrepreneurs, leaders, helping them rewire their nervous system, their brain, their body, their businesses for easeful growth, for consistent results, and for deeply nourishing and exciting money. So if you want to know more about going deeper into this work, then just check the description of this training. You'll find a couple different offerings, one free and a couple ways to work with me more intimately that are paid. All right, let's get started. So a lot of the work that I do with clients as entrepreneurs, as leaders, as change makers, before we even start to get into the strategy of growing and the process of getting into the expansion, into the momentum, is I literally help them rewire their nervous system and their identity to essentially release what has been and be free from what was, so that they can start to feel safe welcoming what is possible. And this is important because as individuals, as humans, we are either living our lives and growing our business from the position of trying to brace ourselves against disappointment, protect ourselves from recreating the past, from being hurt, or we're moving it through life and growing our business from the position of really stepping into infinite possibilities and being open to the potential of anything happening. And so oftentimes, if we're moving from the past, then we're always in a position of protection, of hedging our bets, of expecting the same result, of expecting to be disappointed or expecting results that we no longer want. And so it's important to essentially free ourselves from that, to reset our nervous system so that we can actually start moving through life like as if pulled by our most exciting future possible. Essentially, you can't receive the results and the future you desire when you are moving from the past, or you are at war and in some kind of resistance with the present. When you are triggered, worried, disappointed, stuck in an old pattern of lack, of abandonment, of rejection, of scarcity, what happens is that in your brain, essentially, is your amygdala, which is the part of your brain that processes fear and processes old memories, literally puts your nervous system in fight, flight, or freeze. And you start either like procrastinating and shutting down and hiding, or you start to posture yourself, which is actually fawn, which I didn't name that, but you start to like try to act a certain way to please other. You start to brace yourself against any kind of disappointment or any kind of hurt, or you just flee, meaning you get busy doing a whole bunch of stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with helping you get to where you want to go. So when your brain kind of fires that fear center and those old memories, your nervous system starts to contract. And you end up in some version of survival mode, meaning that your ability to be relaxed, your ability to feel resourced, your ability to be receptive and open to what could be happening and to the future you want, it's compromised. What I find that essentially keeps people from growing and keeps their income capped, a lot of my clients, a lot of entrepreneurs, is that they're trying to earn their way to feeling safe and worthy. They're trying to work hard enough and make enough money to finally feel safe and worthy, when in fact, feeling safe and worthy is actually the foundation. It's the starting point. It's something that has to be claimed from within first. And when you claim that sense of safety, that sense of worthiness as inherent, then what you are doing actually doesn't come from a place of contraction and scarcity and lack. It comes from a place of expansion. And the seed always begets the fruit. So when you're moving and making decision and taking action from contraction, what you get is contracted results. But when you're actually moving from an already existing anchored sense of safety, of worthiness, of sovereignty, of authority, of deservingness, and you're essentially anchored in expansion as you're moving, then you create results that are expansive. So when entrepreneurs are trying to earn the right to feel worthy, trying to earn the right to feel safe, to feel relaxed, they're essentially running and growing their business from a trauma response. Like their life and their sense of identity depends on the result that they're going to get. It's like survival mode wearing a CEO suit. And not only does it feel terrible inside, like it's draining, it's overwhelming, it's confusing. People who are moving from that trauma response, doesn't matter what they do, nothing seems to be changing, or they're never getting the results they want. They're essentially stuck. They're stuck in doubt, or they're stuck in busyness. So not only does it feel terrible inwardly, but it actually also looks terrible externally. And people at an intuitive level, because of this co-regulation in the nervous system and these mirror neurons, when you're moving from survival, then what you end up doing is you end up sending a survival message, and then you either end up with clients who are themselves in survival mode, so they're not ready to invest, they don't have the capacity to do the work, they need a whole bunch of shit, but they don't give a whole lot. Like you end up with the wrong clients, or you end up repelling the right clients, because people at an intuitive level can feel your wobbliness. They can feel that sense of contraction within you, and it repels them, and it repels opportunities. Just like an orange seed is coded for oranges, right? Like an orange seed is coded for an orange tree, which is coded to create oranges and not apples or not peaches. When your nervous system is contracted, you are armored, you are bracing in some ways. What that means is that you are coded for more contraction. And that armoring, that bracing, literally makes you unavailable to receive what you want. What your nervous system is coded for in any given time is essentially what you have the capacity and the ability to create, to receive, and to hold. Nothing more and nothing less. So the results you are seeing currently in your life, in your business, in your money, is literally showing you the blueprint of your own nervous system capacity and your own inner wiring. And that is why, by the way, like mindset, which is extremely powerful on its own, is rarely goes deep enough to really shift these patterns or these processes of self-sabotage or these money blocks. You need the mindset, yes, but you also need the deeper neurological work of shifting your nervous system and shifting your brain. So for me, the moment that I sense that I am hanging on to what was, what has been, that I'm moving from the past, that I'm essentially hedging my bets, like I am making decisions or taking actions from a place of maybe an old disappointment or some resentment or fear of rejection, or I'm believing some old story and an old way of being that doesn't serve me anymore. The moment I catch that, I do the work to reset and shift my nervous system and my identity out of that contraction, out of dysregulation, out of what was or has been, so that I can become available for what I actually want. Because at any given time, you are either creating what has been and moving from what has been, or you are creating and moving from what you want. And you can't do both at the same time. You can't be like essentially hedging your bets and bracing and being in a protective mode and moving through life like from what has been, while also being in full honoring of the future that you're trying to create. It'd be like trying to drive a car with your foot, one foot on the brake and one foot on the gas. It just doesn't work. And actually, I've never tried that, so I don't actually know if what I'm about to say is true, but my sense is that because systems, which includes our bodies and includes a car, are usually meant for protection, the brakes always has more power than the accelerator. So your system is wired for protection, which means that if you're moving, like you're wobbling, you're like pendulum between, on one moment you're moving from the excitement of what's possible, you're moving from the future that you desire, and then the other moment you wobble back and now you're moving from the past and you're moving from trying to protect yourself from being rejected or being disappointed. your brain, your nervous system will pick the one that protects you. It will not pick possibility. It will pick protection. So that is why it's so important that every time we catch ourselves in that wobble, we catch ourselves in doubt, we catch ourselves essentially like being afraid to move forward because of not wanting to be hurt or not wanting to be disappointed or not wanting to fail or be embarrassed or humiliated. It's really important to do our own work to literally release that and come back to center, come back to sovereignty, come back to regulation and relaxation so that we can right away start moving from expansion again. When I do this work and with myself or with my clients, and so when I do this work with myself and I let go of the past, I let go of what has been, I automatically become open once again for possibilities. And the moment that I release the past, that I heal what has been, that I provide that part of me that is afraid the support it needs to essentially let go and to reset my nervous system. The moment I do that, I restore the flow. I restore my internal flow, meaning clarity, inspiration, creativity, courage, authority, sovereignty, expression, authenticity. But I also restore in that measure, because the world tends to mirror us. And when our nervous system is constricted and contracted, we tend to see and relate to the world from a constricted, contracted place. And we tend to get this back in return. When I restore the flow in here, I essentially start to restore the flow out there, the flow of progress, the flow of opportunities, the flow of my ability to move, to create, to receive what I want. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you through this one of the most powerful process that I have put together. This is essentially half of one of my core practices that I teach in my program. And this is one of the most powerful way I know to bring you out of armoring, bring you out of resistance, bring your nervous system out of that sense of contraction and protection and bracing, and re-anchor you in regulation, relaxation, openness, flow, and receptivity. So I've designed this proprietary process over years of not only doing my own work of self-development, but essentially years of working with hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals over my whole career, which is close to 25 years, really. So this process that I'm giving you today is something I do with myself every single day. Every time I feel something in me tense up, I feel something in me wanting to hide, I feel something in me doubting that what I want is possible for me, that I'm good enough for it, that I have the capacity to hold it. Every time my energy, my certainty, my sense of authority and sovereignty starts to collapse, I do this practice. And it is also the core practice that I teach my clients to take themselves through every time they start to wobble, every time they start to feel overwhelmed or stuck. It is absolutely life-changing. So I really invite you to play with it. Or I invite you to, when you look in the description and the one in the link to work with me, one of the things you can do in there is for you and I to schedule a 90-minute intensive. Essentially, it's like 50% off. So it's a huge discount from my regular fee for people who are new to me. And in that process, I literally take you through it at a deeper level so that you can really get it and you can experience it. So let's go through it. The first step is I give myself permission. So the first step, I notice that I'm feeling overwhelmed, that I'm hiding, that I'm feeling stuck, that I'm feeling confused, that I'm feeling frustrated. Like I notice any kind of contraction, any kind of an energy spiral down kind of thing where I'm feeling disappointed or unmotivated or something like that. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of notice where I'm feeling that, and then I'm going to give myself permission for whatever I am feeling and validate my own experience. So I'm going to look at where I feel this heaviness or this tightness in my body. I'm going to acknowledge it by putting a hand there. And essentially, like when you put a hand on yourself, one, I think, like on one hand, from a neurological perspective, it's exceedingly soothing to the nervous system to experience touch, even if it's touch from yourself to yourself. So I'll find it in my body, I'll put a hand there, and then I'll make like the little mental gymnastic of turning towards myself, almost like I'm turning towards a part of me in here that is struggling. I'm turning towards a part of me that doesn't believe that what I want is possible for me, or is afraid to want this, or is afraid of not being capable or ready. And as I turn, I put my hands, as I turn towards this part, I'm going to let this part know, hey, it's okay. I'm just going to give this part permission to be exactly where she is at. It's okay to feel, to think, to believe X, Y, Z. And just that first step of giving this part of me permission to be stuck, essentially, permission to be afraid, and turning towards her, starts the process of dropping the war within me. So that first permission is literally about dropping the war with yourself. And the moment that you do that, the moment that you stop being at war, at friction, in tension with yourself, you start to reestablish self-trust and a sense of feeling supported by life. So remember, you can't shift into what could be, what's possible for you, while you are at war with what is. Because resistance is the antithesis, it's the nemesis of receiving. Resistance closes you off. And so if you're closed off, you cannot receive. That's why what you resist persists, because when you resist something, you close. And so it can't go anywhere. Nothing else can come in because you're closed. So the part of you that is feeling contracted, afraid, disappointed, ashamed, rejected, afraid of being embarrassed, maybe confused, drained, overwhelmed, whatever, right? The part of you that is stuck in some ways will not be able to settle. That part of you will not be able to relax. It will not be able to become open to possibilities and to be an ally for you in creating what's possible until it feels met, it feels acknowledged, it feels welcomed, and it feels safe being seen by you exactly as it is. So step one is simply drop the war with what is, turn towards yourself, towards that part of you that is doubting yourself or is frustrated or feels grief or sadness, whatever. Essentially turn towards the part of you that needs support. And you give this part permission to be, to feel, to think exactly what it is feeling, thinking, feeling, and to be exactly where it's at. It's okay. Hi, sweetheart. I feel you. It's okay to feel really frustrated about this. It's okay to feel really overwhelmed and like you don't have the capacity. It's okay to feel really lost and confused and to feel like you don't know how to make this happen. And you just breathe in that first step. It's okay, and breathe. And you relax with yourself in what is, in things as they stand, with yourself as you are. That is the power of dropping the war with what is, so you can become open to what is possible. It's also the first step of dropping the war with what has been, with the past, so that you can become open to what's possible. Once you've done that, once you've given permission and you've like breathed a couple breaths here and you've validated your experience, then you're ready for step 2. And step 2 is essentially providing the missing experience. And technically, permission, what we just did, is one of the missing experience. Essentially, what you want to understand about wounding and trauma and conditioning is that every contraction that you experience comes from some degree of lack, from some degree of not getting or experiencing something that felt important and necessary to you. And so what I've discovered over the years of working with all these clients is that there are 5 core missing experiences that we all need to essentially feel safe being ourselves, feel safe being here, feel safe wanting what we want and going after what we want. And so when I work with clients, we always work on these 5 core pieces. And then when I work with clients, I will often work on any other missing experience that comes up for them. And that is unique from people to people based on each of our traumas, each of our wounding, each of our disappointments and conditioning. But is essentially to rewire your nervous system and your brain to feel safe being here, feel safe thriving. You have to provide yourself with these 5 missing experiences. This is also what will make it safe for you to release the past. It is what starts to heal all the wounds, all the missing experiences from the past, all the things you didn't get that you needed to feel safe, to feel worthy, to feel deserving, to feel loved, and to feel like you get to have what you want. So, as I stated, the first missing experience we already went over, and that's permission. Every sentient being, most in the universe, and definitely most mammals, want to some degree or another the right to exist exactly as they are. We all want to be validated. We all want to be allowed to be ourselves. And until we get that, we're going to fight for our right to be ourselves. So that is why permission is literally the end of resistance, because there's no longer a need to fight. I'm giving me from the first step permission to be myself exactly as I am. So that's step 1. That's the first missing experience, permission. And the next 3 missing experiences are really about healing and feeling safe and re-anchoring like a sense of love and support that we need in the body to come out of contraction, to come out of wounding, and to start to step back into wholeness, into openness, into expansion. So missing experience number 2 is unconditional love. It's not surprising, right? For us to feel safe being ourselves, feel safe releasing the past, feel safe going after what we want, we need to know that we are loved no matter what. And so in this second step, once you've given permission, basically what you're doing is you're telling that part of you that feels stuck, that feels heavy, that feels afraid, you're letting that part know that you love them no matter what, or that they are loved no matter what. So it sounds something like that. It's okay for you to be scared. And I want you to know that even though you are scared, even when you don't think you are worthy, you are loved. I love you no matter what. And you start to reparent these parts. You start to reparent the parts of you that essentially think that if you have any wounding, if you have any fears, if you have any big emotions, that you are unworthy of love, that you will be abandoned, that you will be rejected. And you start to let this part know, no. Not only is it okay for you to have and be and feel exactly the way you do, but you are loved no matter what. So that's second missing experience, unconditional love. The third missing experience is unconditional support. We need to know that we are held, that we are supported no matter what. And so in this step, right after you do the piece around love, you essentially let this contracted part of you know that you have his or her back, that you are right here with them, that no matter what happens, they're not alone, and you're gonna help them figure it out. One of the things I will often tell my body and these parts of me is, whatever's going on, we're gonna figure it out together. For a lot of us, we did not get the support that we needed as children. So we have to rewire the nervous system to actually allow in support, to feel held by life, and to start to feel like it's not all on our shoulders. Like a lot of these parts inside us that we call sabotaging parts, they freeze, they flee, they don't feel ready, they don't feel capable, they procrastinate, they sabotage like the momentum. When things start to go well, they take their foot off the gas. Like all of these parts oftentimes are parts that feel exhausted, overwhelmed. They feel like it's all on their shoulders. And so because they have a lack of capacity, because they don't feel supported, they don't feel ready to grow. They don't feel ready, worthy, capable of holding the big vision that we have. When you can start to re-anchor support, your body will start to melt. All that pressure and overwhelm will start to dissolve. And the moment essentially that the pressure and the overwhelm dissolves, your sense of capacity, of aliveness, of spaciousness, of ability expands. And suddenly wanting what you want doesn't feel that scary, doesn't feel that overwhelming anymore. So that's the missing experience number 3. The third missing experience is unconditional support. The fourth missing experience is unconditional appreciation and praise. Essentially knowing that someone really sees us and is proud of us exactly as we are, no matter what. This is a huge desire in mammals, to receive praise, positive attention, acknowledgement. And it's especially true in humans. Like you see it in little kids. Mama, mama, watch me. Look at what I'm doing. Look at what I did. Like there's a real sense of wanting to be seen and wanting to be praised. Praised for what we do and praised for who we are. And so in this step, you're turning towards that stuck part or that overwhelmed, afraid part, and you're just letting them know that you are proud of them no matter what. That you see how hard they work, that you see how far they've come, that you are proud of who they are, you are proud of what they've accomplished so far, you're even proud of what's going to be accomplished, what we haven't even created yet. And you're essentially reinforcing that even though you are afraid, even though you feel doubt, even though you feel really stuck right now, I want you to know that I am proud of you and I see you and I see how hard you work and how far you've come. I am so proud of you no matter what. For a lot of us, our parents had their own issue, their own things. And so they did not have the capacity, the time, the energy, the wherewithal to really see us, to really acknowledge us, to praise us. And so there is that need in us. And oftentimes, when we didn't get the right amount of feeling seen, feeling appreciated, feeling praised in our childhood, either by a parent or teachers or whatever it may be, then it starts to create a conditioning or a wound of unworthiness, of undeservingness, of something being wrong with us. So praise is what starts to heal that. We essentially provide ourselves the missing experience we need. We provide ourselves with the sense of feeling truly seen, truly appreciated, so that we can feel worthy and ready for the life that we want, for the business and the results that we're trying to create. So that's the 4th out of 5 missing experience. And finally, the last missing experience that we need to recalibrate our nervous system, to be able to essentially shed the past rather than feeling haunted by the past, and to shift ourselves into possibilities, is unconditional trust. Unconditional trust, sometimes I call it radical trust, is something that we need to anchor in our body so that we can feel safe to heal, we can feel safe to release our doubt, our resistance, and we can start to boldly move forward into the life and the business that we desire. For most of us, a sense of like, I know everything's going to work out. I know I'm supported. I know all is well, is what provides a little bit of the spaciousness that we need to move forward, even though we're afraid. So in this part, in this 5th missing experience, we're anchoring in our bodies the knowing that everything is well. That even though right now it feels like a mess, actually in the grand scheme of things, everything's okay. So it's kind of like permission, like where it's like, you're okay, is permission. And unconditional trust is, it's okay. Life is okay. Things are going to work out. So what you do here is, in this final step, you turn towards that scared, contracted part of you, and you let him or her know that even though things feel scary right now, or even though things feel overwhelming or stuck, or even though you have a lot of doubt right now, I want you to know that in the end, everything works out for you and me. Even though you can't see it right now and it doesn't feel so, I actually want you to know that in the end, everything works itself out. And you kind of almost say it like you're whispering a secret. And the reason, this is something I rarely talk about in these trainings, something I speak to my clients quite a bit. The reason this works is because the part of you that is literally putting your hands on yourself and is like whispering to these wounded parts, hey, sweetheart, it's okay. I see you. I've got you. I love you. I'm proud of you. And guess what? I know it feels really hard right now. It feels really scary right now. But I want you to know it's actually all going to work out in the end. I know you don't see it. You don't feel it right now, but it is. The part of you that is saying these words is actually a version of you that is already whole. It is, one could say it's like your future self coming from the future to meet all the parts of you in the present that have yet to be healed from the past, and to almost like whisper a secret, I want you to know it all works out. I want you to know you're actually okay the way you are. You're loved the way you are. You're supported always. So what happened here is this shift of starting to help our entire being, all parts of us, to anchor into trust, starts to really deepen that sense of feeling supported and guided by life. And it allows you to enter into a much fuller sense of relaxation, of openness, of receptivity. Because what we're essentially saying in the first 4 missing experience, we're saying to these part of us, I've got you. We're saying to ourselves, I've got my own back. You can trust me. I can trust myself. But this last missing experience of unconditional trust, we're basically saying, you can't see it yet, but life is actually working in the background for you, in your favor. Life is conspiring in your favor. It's all going to work out in the end. And so when the body can start to really tap into that sense of connection, protection, support at a much wider level, right? Not just from ourselves to ourselves, then the nervous system can start to really regulate. A sense of openness, a sense of feeling resourced and having the resources needed starts to really percolate and ripple through our being, and we become receptive. And from this place of relaxation, openness, receptivity, that's where expansion starts to emerge. A sense of clarity, a sense of creativity, a sense of courage, a sense of calm certainty that what we want is possible for us starts to really come through from that place. And then that's when we become unstoppable. So this final piece of anchoring ourselves into trust, the last little bit I want to put in this, and this is again in relationship to feeling supported by life, is it allows you to move in faith. It essentially allows you to continue to take action, to move forward, to believe in what you are doing before you ever have any evidence that it's actually working. It's what allows you to keep executing, keep taking aligned action with the fruits, with the outcome you want. It allows you to stop sabotaging, to stay open to the results, because in some ways, you know they're already on their way. With that trust, you start to know from a real place of certainty that if you keep watering the tree, if you keep feeding the soil, if you keep weeding the ground, that the fruits will come, that they will be abundant, and that when they are ripe, they will fall. It will fall right into your hand. And so this sense of trust allows us to be consistent with our action and to simply relax, continue to do what's required without pressure, without force, without a whole bunch of friction and doubt and frustration and overwhelm. Because that doubt, that friction, that overwhelm literally, again, constricts you. And so you could be taking action, but if you're expecting to not get results, or you're afraid of not getting results, or you're getting disillusioned or disappointed when it's taking longer than you would like, or it's not exactly the result you were hoping. Basically, what you're doing is you're taking action, but it's like your bridge is up. Nothing can come to you because you're closed off. So these first 5 steps these 5 missing experiences are essentially the first half of my hatching process. And this is a process, this is something that's really dear to my heart. I've seen people within a matter of weeks transform patterns that they've had for 20 years. Like go from having panic attacks to not having panic attacks, go from being absolutely incapable of creating videos or going live to not even worrying about it, go from not being able to move past a certain financial level to like breaking through and making 2, 3, 4 times the money that they were expecting to make. So this is really, when you practice it and you know how to do it in a way that feels really good, it's a process that can change the absolute foundation of your life and the outcome of everything you do. It is the work that makes everything you do finally work. So that's the first half. And it's a lot about, again, healing, regulating, relaxing, letting go of the past, letting go of old wounds, letting go of old identities that are essentially getting in the way of your next level, getting in the way of your quantum leap, and allowing you, by relaxing, by releasing, by regulating, allowing you to step seamlessly into expansion. And when you know these steps and you know how to do it, you can literally do it in a minute. And essentially, every time you feel yourself wobbling, every time you feel yourself contracting, every time you feel yourself shrinking or hiding, you do the process and you bring yourself back in a sense of groundedness, centeredness, sovereignty, feeling safe to be you, safe to be here, safe to want what you want, and safe to go after what you want. Once you're essentially regulated, relaxed, you're open and receptive, you're anchored in trust, and you're moving from that trust, then the next half of the work is about expansion and capacity. This is where we, like with my client, where we begin to shift identity and we start to recalibrate their body to be able to grow and receive more faster with more ease and more enjoyment. Essentially, without making more feel heavier, without having to force anything, without having to sacrifice our joy for it or our health. So in that first half that I just gave you, you're basically learning to meet your own needs, and you're learning to re-anchor yourself in what I call the inexhaustible ground of safety. Because remember, safety and worthiness has to be the foundation. You can't earn your way there. Results come from regulation and relaxation as a foundation. So you learn to meet your own needs, you learn to have your own back, and to essentially embody a more regulated, relaxed, resourced version of you, so that you can approach your life, your relationships, your business, your money from this place of fullness, overflow, sense of groundedness. Because remember, the seed always begets the fruit. So if you try to achieve and receive from lack, from worry, from contraction, from fear of rejection, then what you end up getting at the end, the fruit you end up getting at the end, is more of the same. Your results feel contracted and lacking. You end up feeling rejected. You end up worrying about where you're going. Like essentially, when you're moving from contraction and resistance, your results resist you and they're contracted. So I want to recap real quick for you. The first step here is that we regulate the nervous system and dissolve resistance with permission. Then we shift into safety, relaxation, receptivity. Essentially, we heal all those missing wounds, those missing experiences. And that's unconditional love, unconditional support, unconditional praise and acknowledgement, and finally, unconditional trust. So that's essentially the first half of the journey, right? And then once you've done that, and you can actually feel the relaxation, the openness, the groundedness in your body from that work, then you're ready to move into phase 3. And phase 3 is also a lot of the work that I do with clients. It's a ton of the work that I do with clients, which is where you start to rewire yourself for more, increasing your capacity for more, recalibrating your body, your brain, your identity, so that you can step into possibility and you can start to embody a new receiving reality. And you can do that from a place of ease, from a place of rest, from a place of inherent worthiness, unconditional worthiness. So that's phase 3. And a lot of the work that I do with people is like the first couple phase 3, and then the final piece of this work, which is often not talked about enough, is that once you have healed the past, you have reset your nervous system, you have increased your capacity, you are anchoring yourself into sovereignty, and you are flowing in expansion. Like the momentum's building, things are happening. The last phase of this work is you have to learn to stay regulated, to stay relaxed, to stay resourced and receptive in the expansion process. Essentially, you have to learn to not let doubt, not let overwhelm start to percolate up and sabotage your momentum, which is super common, by the way. Like it's very common when things start to go well, when things start to move, suddenly some part of us starts to wobble. Some part of us starts to doubt. Some parts of us starts to get triggered and have like what I call an oh shit moment. Oh shit. Am I going to be able to hold all that? Oh shit. Am I going to be able to replicate that? Oh shit. Is it going to go okay? Oh shit. Do I have what it takes? Like some kind of oh shit reaction to having more, to things moving. And the moment we have that reaction, what we're essentially saying is we're back in survival. We're out of safety and we're back in survival, and the nervous system contracts, and essentially we constrict the flow, we push our foot on the brakes. We essentially push the brake on the expansion, on the momentum. And that's essentially what sabotage is. And sometimes we do it so quickly that the moment things start moving, like before we really even have a chance to land in expansion and to start to normalize it, we close it off. I had a client of mine, this was a while back, who basically had a video, like did all this work around visibility and had a video go viral. And suddenly out of that one video, she received like a ton of messages in Messenger and got completely overwhelmed, went back into freeze response, and didn't respond to a single one of them. Talk about essentially your old patterns, your body getting triggered by expansion and shutting down. So this last phase of the work is once you've healed the wounds, once you've anchored into safety and a sense of trust, and you're starting to move into expansion, then you start to pay real close attention with keeping yourself regulated and anchored in possibilities and anchored in safety as you continue to expand, so that you can normalize expansion. And you can normalize expansion feeling really comfortable, really yummy, really delightful to your whole system. So if you found today's training valuable, expansive in some ways, please share it. Please tag friends if you're on Facebook, or give the link to people that you think could benefit from it. It would mean a lot to me. I really want to take this work out to a greater public, and in some way especially this training, I think really explains the whole journey, and it gives something real tangible for people to start playing with. So I think it's a valuable training for people to have if you can think of someone who would benefit from this because they're in a process of expansion, or they're feeling a little overwhelmed or frozen or lost, and they don't know how to essentially be in that place of flow. And in the end, what I want, like the people I work with they're change makers. They're here to have a big impact. They're usually really mission led in some ways. And so I want to see them succeed. And more than likely, if you are watching this training, you are too. You're here to change the world in some kind of fashion. You're here to have a really big life and to actualize a big vision that you have in some way, shape, or form. And you don't want to do it by sacrificing your health, your joy, your freedom. And so I want to see you succeed massively in your life, in love, in your leadership, in how you grow your business and your wealth. And my wish for you is that you're able to do that in a way that feels easeful, that feels delightful, and really nourishes all parts of you, not just your bank account. There's a lot of people out there who will sell you strategies and tactics to try to grow real quick. And it won't be you. It won't feel good. That's not success. So I want you to have the full on decadent experience of having the life, the business, the money that you desire. And I want to help you with that. So if you sense that in some way you have been like holding yourself back, you've been capped, maybe you've plateaued your income, you're blocking your ability to grow and to receive abundantly with ease and joy in some ways. You're blocking your visibility. You're blocking your ability to attract and enroll the kind of clients that you would love to work with. Then you're in the right place. I might be the right mentor for you. I probably am. And I would love to go deeper and to potentially work with you because your business, your money will never outperform your wiring. How well your strategy works and how much money you make is in big part determined by your neurology and your identity. So let's work together. Let's create a new paradigm, a new receiving reality where being deeply regulated, relaxed, resourced, moving from a place of rest and being rich all at the same time is your new norm. And by the way, this isn't magic. It's neuroscience. Although sometimes it can feel like magic because it feels so good, but it's not magic. It's actually the neurology and the strategy of expansion. It's the science and the magic of expansion. So through this body of work, you can expect to upgrade your standards, who you're being, how you're leading, so that you can start to think, feel, move, receive like the true CEO that you are. You can expect to dissolve all the limitation patterns that have essentially quietly in the background been capping your income and your impact. You'll reprogram the fundamental operating system that is running everything in your life and in your business from behind the curtain. And you'll learn to maintain that new identity and that new reality seamlessly. Through this work, you become calibrated and a match for the vision, for the life, for the business, for the money that you are desiring to create. And you essentially design a unique, curated blueprint on how to execute, how to expand, how to scale in a way that is in complete resonance with you and with the wisdom of your body. Essentially, all these parts that I was talking about that are afraid, they start to relax and they start to release like part of your life force, part of your magic. They become allies and partners and guides on your growth journey. So essentially, you start to create this business and the growth and the momentum of it from the wisdom of your body. And what that does is essentially creates something that you never get tired of, that you never want to burn down, that you never want to escape from, because it feels good all the way through. Through this work, what you'll also learn is to remove, because you're in tune with your body and with that wisdom and that knowing inside you, and you're in tune with your worthiness, you have different standards, you start to remove the complexity and design a life and a business model, including your offers, your marketing, your pricing, that is in complete coherence. It's in coherence within itself, so your whole business makes sense, and your marketing, your messaging, like all of it makes sense, but it's also in complete coherence to you, so that you are not at war with what you're creating. Success in business should never be a trade-off. There's no need to sacrifice soul for strategy, because when everything in your business feels simple, feels satisfying, nourishing, that's when executing and being consistent becomes easeful, and that's also when results start to flow. Ultimately, through this work, you transform the total trajectory of your life, of your business, of your wealth from the inside out. And it would be my great honor to share it with you and to put my 22 plus years of experience to work for you in helping you create a life and a business that you adore and that you can be really proud of and feel deeply nourished by. So that's my sales pitch. If you are curious and you want more information, check the description of this training. You're going to find 2 links. The first link is essentially, if you know you want to work with me and you're curious about what that looks like, there's a way for us to work for one deep dive 90-minute intensive at a significant discount, so you can really start the journey and get a sense of what it feels like to work with me, like more than just in a video, right? And then you will also, there'll be also a link if you want to check out my Somatic Mastermind, which is my longer term program, which includes everything. And then the second link in the description of this video is, if you're not quite ready to jump in and do some work with me directly, I've also included my free Wired for Wealth mini course, which essentially has a training, and it's got 3 or 4 guided practices as well to really start you on this rewiring and expansion journey. So I hope this training was useful. I would love to hear from you. I would love to work with you. And I'll be back next week with a new training. Until then, bye. Love ya.